everyone, I'm Laura from Doggy U, and I'm a certified guide dog mobility instructor as well as an online pet and service dog trainer. And today I'm going to be talking to you all about how to prepare for your first class with your puppy or dog, or maybe your second class if you've been training already. I'm going to show you exactly what reinforcers I bring to class, including food and how to prepare it, as well as toys and a few other things that you should have in your bag with you. I'm also going to show you the secret to preventing unwanted behavior in your training class that's caused by frustration and boredom and overtiredness. So stay tuned to learn everything you need to know to prepare for your first training class with your puppy or dog. I promise your trainer will love you for it. So before we get started, I wanted to let you know that nothing in this video is sponsored, and I have purchased everything myself in this video. You'll notice half of my bags still have the things hanging off of them because these are literally things I pulled out of my training bag before I started the video, including some half-eaten bully sticks. So I want you to be aware that nobody is paying me to show these particular things for their dogs. This is literally what I use when I go to a training class. So I've been home for a few months now, and it's been awesome because it's allowed me to get back into some training classes. And you might be thinking, you're a trainer, you're going to classes? Yes, of course. You should always be hiring an instructor that continues their education. There is so much to learn about dog training, and you want to have the mentality that you have something to learn from every trainer that you work with. Even if it's as, simple as just bringing your puppy to a basic puppy class so that you can work around the distraction of other puppies. So yes, I love to go to training classes with my dogs. And when I go, I want to be really prepared for any situation I find myself in. Does that sometimes look like I am packing a diaper bag for a child when I walk in? Yeah, it does, but I'd rather have everything I need and be super prepared than be left in a situation that I'm having a difficult time handling. So I'm going to show you exactly how I prepare for those classes and what I bring, all the way from the simple things you think of like your food reinforcers to some things you might not think about. I'm interested in bringing along a variety of motivators as well as some passive type activities for when my dog gets antsy, which is going to happen with your young dogs. Dogs are really meant to be trained in 1 minute to 10-minute increments or so. And when you have an hour-long class, that's a lot of time to fill, and a young dog can get super antsy. So I'm going to show you how to deal with that later on in the video, but let's start with the most common thing you think you might need for your class, which would be food motivators. Anytime I say a motivator or a reinforcer, I just mean something that the dog is going to want to receive as a reward for doing something that you're asking. So that's what a motivator or a reward is, or a reinforcer. Sometimes I just call it the cookies. I'm gonna bring the cookies. For treats, I want to bring a wide variety of reinforcers and make a sort of trail mix. And then I'm also going to put off to the side some very high value reinforcer that I might use for a special activity or when the dog starts getting tired. A trail mix for me means 4 to 6 different type of food reinforcers that I'm gonna mix all together so that the dog never knows what they might get. When we're thinking about our food rewards, we also want to think about the texture and size. So I want to have very, very tiny reinforcers. So something very, very small, about the size of a pea, that's soft and easy to go down. So we don't want to use these big milk bones or things that the dog's really going to have to chew very much. We're looking for small, able to give them quickly and move on to the next reinforcer, and softness makes it easier for them to swallow. Your food reinforcers will also be more valuable if they're stinky. The stinkier, the better in most cases. And I want to talk quickly about reinforcers. The dog or the learner gets to decide what is reinforcing to that particular dog. We don't get to decide that for them. So for instance, I'm a vegetarian, and don't worry, my dogs eat meat and I have a very species appropriate diet. But for me, if you were going to reward me for a very difficult job that I did well with a really nice fancy fish dinner, that wouldn't be very reinforcing to me because that's not something that I particularly care for. However, if you were going to reward me for a job well done with like a really nice dinner at a sushi place that has great veggie sushi, I'm gonna be thrilled. So I get to have preferences about what's rewarding for me, and so does your dog. Just because you want your dog to like something doesn't mean that they do. I'd love every dog to work for kibble for me, but that's just not reality. The learner gets to decide what's reinforcing, and that may require some testing it out at home. You may be able to figure out a hierarchy of what is valuable to your dog. You may find out what's really awesome on top, and that maybe something that other dogs like is on the bottom and you can't use it as a reinforcer. Here's a really good example of that in my real everyday life. This is Jake. Jake loves all the foods. He will eat vegetables and fruit and kibble and all sorts of things, and he finds all of that rewarding at somewhat different levels, but mostly rewarding. Now here's Cool Whip. She does not think that fruits and veggies are reinforcing. She doesn't like them. So I need to use food reinforcers that are high value for her, and a blueberry just isn't cutting it. Now that doesn't mean that she doesn't get these healthy additions added to her diet, it just means that she makes me work for them, so I have to blend them up and mix them in with her raw food or her kibble so that she gets what she needs. But they're not reinforcing, they're not valuable to her, and thus they are not treats. A quick note on kibble. I use kibble a lot at home for one of my dogs as a reinforcer. He loves food and kibble is reinforcing for him. You may find this to be true with your Labradors or other very food motivated dogs. And I'll even mix a little kibble into his trail mix and it'll get all the stinky flavors of everything else, and then I can continue to use it as a reward in a more difficult environment like a training class. But in general, training classes are a very difficult and distracting environment for most dogs. For a puppy going into a class where they have to be on leash and can't explore and go play with all those other puppies, it's so hard. So you want to be generous and pay often. You want to bring the best treats that you can think of so that you can really show your dog what a great job they're doing in that difficult environment. I use both fresh and store-bought treats when going to a training class, and a lot of that does depend on how well prepared I am and what's been going on that day, because I'm a human and sometimes I don't do a great job of getting what I need. But I'll show you some stuff later on that you can get literally at the grocery store on the way to class if you need to. I always have a couple bags of shelf-stable, store-bought treats with me because I always want to have at least 3 times the amount of treats you think you might need for that class. And just having those with me gives me an extra supply if I need it. I never want to be caught empty-handed, so in a minute I'll show you exactly what store-bought treats I use and what I'm looking for in a store-bought treat. But if I have the time and I can prepare well, maybe at the beginning of the week, I also, and most importantly, want to bring fresh food with me. So fresh food is going to be stinkier and more engaging for most dogs. And it does take a little time to prepare, but it also can add a lot of value and health to your dog's diet while getting the behavior that you want out of them. And a note on introducing new foods into your dog's diet. You want to start with just one food and seeing how your dog does on it. Chicken is usually the safest one to start with as long as your dog doesn't have a chicken allergy, and you can go from there. Chicken tends to be highly reinforcing, and also most dogs don't have any issues with it. So start by just trying one treat out and adding it to their diet, see how their stool responds, and if everything is a-okay, add the next one. Also, I certainly haven't used every treat that's out there, so I would love for you to comment and tell me what treat your dog absolutely loves so that I can try it with Cool Whip and Jake, because they love trying new things, and I would love to know what your dog is eating as a treat, so comment that down below for me. So let's start off with chicken, the one we talked about before. You can get it from a rotisserie chicken, you can cook it yourself, you could boil it, you can put it in the toaster oven and get it all cooked up. No spices added, and then we're gonna chop it up into tiny little pieces. You can also sometimes find it in one of those like a frozen strip variety that you can just kind of have on hand in case you don't wanna get the fresh stuff. Along with chicken goes turkey, steak, and hamburger. Those are really good options that you can make into small pieces for your dog. I know when Cool Whip was little, she had a very bad recall. When I first got her, she was super independent. So her recall foods were always steak and mashed potatoes because that was her favorite thing when she was little. You can also use a small amount of cheese and hot dogs. We don't want this to be your primary treat, but it can be a really high value one for things like recalls or healing by other dogs. In the beginning, I also talked about having a special treat set off to the side that you might need at the end of class when your dog starts getting tired. And that for my dogs is warmed meatballs. So I'll take those like store-bought meatballs, heat a few up and put it in a little container and kind of save it off to the side. They're easy to break into little chunks for reinforcers. Some dogs also love fruits and vegetables, which can be an awesome way to treat your dog and not add a lot of calories. Some of the ones that I like to use would be carrots, green beans, broccoli stems, cauliflower stems, cucumbers, apples, blueberries, even some melon, watermelon sometimes. All of those can be chopped into little pieces and fed as reinforcers. And if you're lucky enough to get a dog that really just loves all food, I'm talking to you lab people out there, then definitely add those in as kind of your lower end reinforcers that you're gonna bring to class and mix them in with your whole trail mix. And while we're talking about calories, make sure that you're allowing for those calories in your dog's diet for that day. So if you know you have a training class coming up and your dog maybe is kind of getting on the chonky end, let's make sure that we're taking some amount of calories out of their ration of regular food for that day so that you can use them for your treats. And be really judicious about what treats you're feeding those dogs that tend to be what we call easy keepers. And to be fully transparent, a lot of my treats are coming from whatever my husband cooked up the night before. If he's cooking up chicken or steak or whatever, turkey, whatever, I might ask him to set aside a little unseasoned portion, or if it's not seasoned to begin with, I'm gonna chop it up and put it in my treat pouch and bring it to class. Now, what to do if you're running late to class and you don't have time to stop home or can't bring some of these fresher products with you? That's when I'm gonna stop at the grocery store. I don't wanna do this often, but I can easily grab either those like pre-sliced Cracker Barrel cheeses or some string cheese, as well as a thick slice of deli meat that I can break into little pieces. Try to get the low sodium as like plain as possible of those meats and sliced sort of thick. And then you can break that up into little pieces. Again, you don't want this to be your only, like how you always feed your dog treats on the way to class, but it's a good thing to do in a pinch. And because you're prepared and you're leaving maybe some of these shelf-stable treats in the car, you already have those to bring with you. Along with your fresh options, let's talk about store-bought treats that you can use that make it a little bit easier for you to get ready. So there's two types of those. One is the type that you have to do some work for, that often comes in like a log form. And one is the type that just comes pre-done. You just, I don't even have these right. Pick up the bag and pour them into your treat pouch. So let's start with those rolled versions. So these little babies are little Happy Howies that I have cut up. Super tiny, and they break up really, really easily. When I'm talking about my logs, I also might use something like Natural Balance. Now, my dogs love the Happy Howies, but Natural Balance rolls sometimes tend to be a little bit lighter on the pocket, so I'll use both. What I will say is the Happy Howies stick together really easily. They don't crumble, whereas some of the other rolled foods do a little bit of crumbling in your bag. Once I cut them up, I'm going to cut them up for the week or week and a half or so that I'm going to put them in the fridge. If I'm not going to use them within a week and a half, I'm going to freeze them and just take them out as needed. Turkey or chicken liver and hearts can also be a higher value store-bought food. They tend to be better than any of the other like more condensed types of foods that you can buy from the store, so they tend to be stinkier, which makes them more high value. Now they're not as soft as some treats, so I like to cut them up into tiny little pieces so they look like big kind of hearts there. And then I cut them up into little pieces so that my dogs can swallow them really, really easily. These are from a local company called Oma's Pride that I get some of my raw food from, but you can also find them in more like, you know, the Chewies or the big box pet stores of the world and things like Pure Bites. These ones are also too big for a training treat as is, so I'm going to either break them up or cut them up prior to use. Now let's talk about the store-bought treats that you can literally just rip open the bag and use. You want to get the smallest ones available, even if you have a large dog. So that means I'm getting the minis or the little jacks in all of the flavors so that they're the tiniest ones that are available. My dogs really love these Zooks ones, especially the salmon and rabbit variety, because they're the most expensive, because of course they are, because Cool Whip is a queen. So I'm gonna get those flavors, especially when they go on sale, and usually there's sales at some point during the year, and I'm gonna stock up. My dogs also really like these Bill Jack Little Jacks. They're small, tasty treats, super consumable. They are marketed for small dogs, but again, get them for your larger dogs. We're not looking to give them a ton of calories. We're just looking to give them a reward that is small with lots of flavor that can be eaten quickly. Other brands that you can find at your big box stores would be like Pet Botanicals, or Training Rewards is one of the brands I believe that I've used in the past, as well as these wellness soft bites. I like these ones. Let me show you, this crinkling's probably driving people crazy, but I like these ones. They're like squares that I can easily break up into little pieces and feed my dog. So a little bit of work there, but not a ton. Now, if your dog is on a raw-based diet and you're concerned about what you're feeding, you should be feeding mostly that fresh stuff, your chicken, your turkey, your steak, all of that. But what if I want something that's shelf-stable to bring along, that's where I'm gonna bring in, again, those turkey hearts and that kind of thing. But also, I've found these like raw, I'm sorry, these are, oh my gosh. I found these raw kibbles. This raw bowl, my dogs absolutely love. So they are little kibble treats, and they kind of have the consistency of your liver. They're kind of a little soft, a little squishy, and they are stinky, especially this chicken and salmon recipe flavor. Along with that, I also use these Vital Essentials in whatever flavor they have on sale. These are, though, a harder, more kibble-like texture. So if you have a dog that takes a while to chew things, then those probably aren't the right treats to bring to your class with you, but they are something you can throw in the car and just have available. Now, if you have any sensory concerns, like you struggle with the sliminess of the dog's mouth or something like that, or any dexterity issues, or maybe you just have a really mouthy puppy and you're trying to work through that, I do have a video that I'm gonna link down below and maybe up above here for you to watch, all about how to deliver treats effectively and other options for delivering treats when you have sensory or dexterity issues. This video has all the things that I've learned over 13 years of working with land shark, German Shepherd dog puppies. So I think it'll be pretty helpful for you if you want to check that out. But let's just go over really quickly what you might want to put in your squeeze tube if you're not going to be using more of the standard treats. So you can fill your squeeze tube with things that your dog might love, like baby food, pumpkin, yogurt, peanut butter, or like liver pate, something super stinky. And that can be really effective to dole out with like little squeezy motion once your dog gets to you for a recall, or maybe when you're even doing heel work. Squeeze tubes are also particularly awesome for the winter when maybe you've got gloved hands, but you still want to reinforce your dog with very valuable reinforcers. All right, so you have all of your treats, your trail mix, your extra treats. You've got 3 times the amount you need. Now, where do you put them? That's where a treat pouch or a bait bag comes in. And these are actually my personal treat pouches and bait bags. If I had thought a little more about it, I might have washed them beforehand, but I didn't. So this is actually what I use. This is my husband's, and these are the 2 that I use. Now, I happen to be a professional trainer, which means that I have to have a lot of treats on me because I may be working dogs all day long. So I have this giant pouch that I could also fit a ball in if I wanted to, and it fits my keys and my phone and all of that. It's more of like a really cool fanny pack, because who doesn't love to wear a fanny pack? So it has a zipper top. Now, zip tops are not ideal for most people, though this one does do a pretty good job of holding your treats in. So if you need to bring a lot of stuff, this is a good one for that. But what I recommend for most people, oh, this is by Ollie Dog. Again, I'm not being paid to tell you about these. I've been using Ollie Dog's products for 13 years because I tend to be a creature of habit. So this Ollie Dog one, their actual treat pouch, I think the bigger one's called the Adventure or something like that, is the one that I recommend for most people because it's got a magnetic closure, which means that you can easily reach your hand in, and then when you're done, you just close it like that. That's gonna prevent most of your treats from falling out if you bend over to take care of your dog for some reason. It's also got a little zippy pouch where you can put your poop bags. So I really love magnetic closures and things with belts on them. This one is actually a hack that my friend taught me. She got me an arcade belt, so shout out to Julie at Rocky Mountain Dog Training, to put in this one because it's stretchy. So it's just like, feels nice when you put it on. So we want this type. I also use this. So if you're a person that goes on a lot of hikes or adventures like I do with my dog, I bring like a verified, cool, I think it looks awesome, fanny pack. And inside the fanny pack, I can put my phone and like, I don't know, what else is in here? Headphones, chapstick, clicker, you know, all the things that one needs when they are going out with their dog. But I also put in this stasher bag. So this is a good option for those that like maybe instead of a class, you're going out on a hike. And in my stasher bag, I can put this is like a alternative to using plastic. I can put all of my gross training meats in here, and then I can put it in the fridge at the end of the day, and it keeps everything else kind of clean. That being said, again, this is not probably for most of your training classes. We want more something like this, and you can just dump everything out into your fridge, a container in your fridge at the end of the night, and throw this in the washer machine. Though, as you can tell, you wouldn't know that I owned a washer machine. So anyway, there are some other brands that people really love, and I'll link some of those down below. One is the Roughwear, like this is the Roughwear fanny pack thing. They actually make a dedicated treat pouch, and that one is really good also, as well as the Blue 9 one, are ones that people really, really like. But again, I happen to be a creature of habit. So just like treats, I don't know every treat pouch that's out there. So if you know of a really cool one that you wanna link down below so everybody can go down there and see what other people are using, that would be really awesome. Yeah, I'm sure there's so much more stuff out there than there was like 13 years ago when I started and just continued using the same thing over and over again. So comment your treat pouches that you use down below, or if you have any really cool hiking bags or things that you use for your dogs when you're out hiking, that would be awesome. All right, so you got your treats and a pouch to hold them, and you might think that's everything you need for class, but no. That's why I bring a big bag full of things. So the thing we want to think about is toys. Maybe your dog really likes food, but it's not their highest value reinforcer. I'm talking your Border Collies, I'm talking your Malinois, I'm talking your German Shepherds. They might like toys more than they love food, and in certain classes, having toys available can be really helpful. This is especially true for outdoor classes, classes that might be about agility or recalls, stuff like that, where you can have your high value reinforcer for your dog. So I wanna bring a couple toys along to add value to my training session. When we bring our toys, we wanna think about being respectful to other participants. So we shouldn't be bringing anything that's like squeaky. Nobody likes that. That's gonna distract other dogs, no good. And we don't want to bring anything crinkly because same thing, it's going to distract other dogs. So instead, we want to bring things that we can play with at close distance because you remember your dog will likely be on leash. So what I bring for whip is I have a soft frisbee or any frisbee that your dog likes that I can pass around, do a quick little tiny toss or play tug with. I also have another tug toy. Again, this one's old. This one is from Clean Run. And it's like a rabbit tuggy toy, and then also a ball on a rope because then I can play a little ball, play a little tug. It's got like a little bounce to it. Play a little tug with her and still have her on leash while everyone else is working. Again, we want to be very judicious about how we use toys in class so that we are not interrupting other learners in the class, but there are situations where this might be appropriate. Now, besides toy and food reinforcers, I also want to be prepared for moments where the dog might be sitting and doing nothing. That may be because it's not their turn yet, or one dog is doing a thing and you're sitting and watching them, or maybe your dog is just really tired and just needs a break. We want to prepare for that. Many young dogs can become bored and start whining or barking when it's someone else's turn, and we want to be able to curb that behavior or just prevent it from happening in the first place. So I want to have passive activities to do with my dog during those periods of downtime or when they need a break. Also, for those dogs that get tired, giving them breaks can be a critical component of your training class plan. It teaches them to be calm in the presence of other dogs, and it allows them to decompress and chew out their feelings about the class in real time. Now, it's important to note that things like Nyla bones or Benny bones aren't probably going to be enough for your dog in a class environment. Just because they chew them at home doesn't mean they're going to be able to chew them around this difficult, distracting, long class environment. Even things like antlers sometimes really aren't enough. Though sometimes I'll smear some peanut butter or yogurt on it to kind of refresh them for the dog. So here's a couple different items that I like to use to bring to class for my dog to chew in between their turns or when they need a break. My chew products are typically animal meat type based things and are very interactive. So that means things like this half chewed bully stick, where these were literally in class with both of my dogs. I might use something like a marrow bone or a topple filled with raw meat. That's a really good one. Pig's ears, raw cow's necks. I might use something like a trachea if your dog doesn't eat those really quickly. Or one of those Himalayan chews, which is essentially like a cheese chew that takes a while. Or if you need something that's store-bought and you can usually get on the way there, I use these ocean chews, these crispy codfish skins. My dogs love these and they also stink. All of those things are good options for an interactive chew you can give your dog. You do have to learn your personal dog though, because these don't last very long. So these cod chews don't last very long for my chewers because they tend to be intense chewers. So something more like a cow neck or a bully stick will take them a little while longer, and that's a better option. My disclaimer here is that any chew that you give your dog could potentially either cause choking or teeth damage. So you need to do what makes sense for you. You need to observe your dog with that chew before bringing it to class and talk to your vet about what you think is the best option for your particular dog and their chewing style. If you're at all worried about choking hazards, then your topple is probably your best bet for puppies because it's easy access to a frozen raw meat situation that you can also fill with other things if you don't use raw meat, or a Kong for a more experienced dog that is actually going to work harder for it. But my topple is pretty much my go-to if you want the safest toy that's also incredibly engaging for your puppy. I have a video all about filling topples, so I'll put that down in the description below as well and somewhere up here. What you bring will be up to your dog's preferences. Again, like we talked about below, the learner decides what's reinforcing. So something like a bully stick or a trachea that are dried objects may not be the item that actually works for your dog, and you may have to pull out the raw meat situations or something more engaging like your topple or Kong, and you can simply bring those with you to class in a little lunchbox, in a little Ziploc bag or a container, and put an ice pack in it so it stays nice and fresh. Though it may seem excessive to bring all of these extra items for your passive time with your dog, they can really prevent unwanted behavior and also teach your dog to settle in distracting environments. And because I work a lot with service dog clients, that's one of the #1 things that we really want a dog to do is settle around distractions. But that's also true of all my pet dog people out here that just want to bring their dog to a brewery. So starting with those passive activities in class when your dog needs a break can help you work towards those things. So it does double duty. Another really important item is a mat to bring for your dog. So this is something that you can lay on the floor and your dog can lay on. I really like this one from Roughwear. To be honest, I don't even know if they still make it, but it's like waterproof on one side and you can throw it in the wash when you get dirty, and it kind of wraps up nicely like this. So comes out nice and big. It's a little soft for your dog, which is nice. I also have one from Ollie Dog that I like and comes in a stuff sack. Being able to make it small is important to me. But having that mat is really a critical portion of your training. Now, you don't even have to bring a mat like this and invest in anything. Just bring an old towel. A towel works just as well and can also just be thrown in the wash. So what a mat does for your dog is, lots of things. One, it keeps your training area clean while you're feeding your dog a disgusting meat thing, and then your trainer will like you more because you're not getting your area disgusting with meat. So that's one thing just practically that it's good for. Also, most classes will teach a go-to-place behavior in class. So what you're doing here is being able to use it both to keep your area clean and teach your dog a go-to-place, but also you're using it and associating it with settling. So once your dog understands that this is a place that we settle and I can bring it anywhere. So I can bring it to the brewery or an outdoor restaurant with my dog. So they start associating, oh, when that mat is out, I go to place and lay down. So it's really a really helpful thing to show your dog what their spot is, what they should be doing, and then being able to bring it with you outside of the classroom and use it all over the place. Place training is an invaluable skill that's important both in the pet dog and the service dog world. Two last things that you want to throw in your bag are poop bags. Those are really important because you do want to always pick up after your dog. And also, I want to bring a bowl and some water. Now this one I'm pretty sure was like a giveaway at some point, but they sell stuff similar, and I'll link something down below, or there's crumple bowls, or there's like water bottles that you squish the water up. All of those are options. You just want to make sure that you bring water and a bowl to put it in for your dog so that they're not thirsty during your training. So when I started this video, I thought it was going to be relatively short, but there's just so much that you can do to help you and your dog be successful at your training class. So the last thing we need to do is figure out what you're going to put all your stuff in. Now, you can definitely not go out and buy anything and just use what you have at home. Anything that you're willing to have eventually smell like dead fish is probably something that you want to use. But if you are looking for something that you really like, I will show you what I use. The most important thing is that whatever you bring is like a backpack or a sling bag or something hands-free so that you have both your hands prepared to treat your dog on the way in and reinforce good behavior and really work with your dog without worrying about grabbing all of your stuff up. So this bag that I have here is the Roughwear. Oh gosh, I should know the names of products, but it's the Roughwear bag. I don't know, it's gray. You'll find it on there. I love this one because it fits so much stuff. So I can throw everything in here and zip it up. It has pockets, it has a grab handle, it has the ability for me to do it crossbody or sling it over my shoulder. So I super like it. It also even has like outside pockets and a zippy pocket, and you can even take this stuff off. So again, you don't need to buy anything, but a bag like this, this thing has held up. I even have one of their really old bags and they just hold up really well. Again, I'm not sponsored by Roughwear. I just use a lot of their stuff because I like something that I can use for 12 years. Like I want to be able to buy something once and not have to replace it. And like some of the stuff that I bought Jake when I first got him literally 11 years ago, I am still using today. So that's is what it is. I'm sure there's lots of other amazing companies out there, but again, I'm kind of old school. So, all right, everyone, I'm so glad you could come along on this video tour of my whole training bag and what I'm bringing to class. It may seem like overkill, but really what it's going to do is prevent problems and problem behavior with your dog. And prevention is worth so much more than it is to try and fix problems once they occur. And having all this stuff with you will prepare you for anything, which will make your class experience for both you and your dog better and more effective. And if you're looking to get a jump start on your training, I highly recommend you join the Dog EU community. Over there, I have a live monthly Q&A where you can get your questions answered about your training. I also have an elite level where you can submit video of your training and I will personally give you feedback and help troubleshoot any issues you're having. I also release videos over there that I don't release publicly that are going to help you kind of fine tune and really help train your dog. It's a really fun community and I hope to see you there. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell button so you get notified anytime a new video comes out. And if you like this video, you'll probably like this one here, so you should probably click on it. All right, it's like 100 degrees here in Connecticut and there is no AC in this room, so I think that wraps it up. You all have an awesome day and happy training.
Thanks for watching and stay tuned for our next video. Subscribe now and never miss an episode.